can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. China's taking our jobs, our money, our base, our manufacturing. What they've done to us is the greatest single theft in the history of the world, the greatest abuser in the history of this country. Rampant theft of intellectual property. A currency manipulator. They break the rules in every way imaginable. I have many friends in China. They agree with me 100%. We have lost all of their respect. They think we're run by a bunch of idiots.
Oh, most of you probably remember that. Welcome back. China was candidate Trump's favorite whipping post. He vowed, as you heard him there, to label them a currency manipulator. He said actually it would be on day one. Well, he didn't. Now President Trump has adopted what you might call this approach to cracking down on trade. Keep your friends close and your enemies across the border. But not the border you might think. The president started off this week by slapping tariffs on imported softwood lumber from Canada, the Great White North. Canada says it will sue. The two nations' normally chummy relationship isn't in such a great place right now. Wilbur Ross, is the president's commerce secretary, puts it pretty plainly. Quote, "It's been a bad week for U.S.-Canada trade relations." Let's come back into the room. I covered the Clinton White House and the George W. Bush White House, and these were constant issues. This is not a new issue. The softwood lumber issue in particular, the dairy issues from time to time, back and forth. The issue is the Canadian government subsidizes some of these products from the U.S. perspective. So it's not a new issue. The question is, the president seems to be almost happy to publicly pick a fight with Canada.
Well, he needs a new... he needs a new enemy to put on the table. I mean, he really does need China's help with North Korea, so he's kind of put that issue aside. And he needs someone else to take his place. This is how he has always worked. You have to have someone who can be the bad cop to your good cop and show so that he can show that he's fighting for the American worker. It's kind of a smart issue for him because this is actually something that a lot of Democrats are very supportive of. The Democrats who represent Wisconsin are very happy about Trump talking tough on this dairy issue. It's not as clear. It's not a partisan issue in the clearest sense. And as you mentioned, a lot of these tensions began going way far back into the 90s, but even in the Obama administration in the last 18 months, they'd started to make some noise about some of these issues.
And the diplomats kind of are aghast, like the United States to publicly chastise Canada, our great friend of the North. But to your point, if you're a dairy farmer in Wisconsin, or if you're in the lumber business across the prairie, you're thinking there's a president talking specifically about the things I care about.
Well, and that was the promise during the campaign, right? America first. So this is an issue that fits into that particular framework. So I think that there will be a series of things that Trump does here, particularly if he's not happy with his 100 days coverage. There may be small fights, but that get a lot of attention and make it look as though he is helping the people he promised.
Well, they had a meeting. I just want to bring in these pictures. They had a meeting at the White House, obviously, President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau. They were here and they said things, they promised that things were going to try to work out great. There's no question Prime Minister Trudeau is of a different political bent than President Trump, but they did have a nice meeting here and they both talked very highly of one another. We're talking during the break. Ivanka Trump has spent some time, I believe she went to the theater with Prime Minister Trudeau. But the president tweeted this just today: "Canada has made business for our dairy farmers in Wisconsin and other border states very difficult. Will not stand for this. Watch."
We haven't heard as much about NAFTA, renegotiations, but this does seem like the opening bid in trying to renegotiate some aspects of that. A lot of that's been focused on Mexico. Now he's, turning his focus to the north, to a nicer neighbor, typically.
And I believe that Trudeau responded with something calming the temperature, saying something like, "We'll continue to work with the United States to have
nobody's
going to
get mad at Trump for going after Canada that I can think of.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one in the second 100 days. Thanks for watching Inside Politics. See you back here this time tomorrow. Wolf is up right after a quick break.